You've become quite associated, haven't you, with the extraordinary events that day, because you were...
That is correct.
You're supposed to be the last man who left the North
Tower when it collapsed.
What were you actually doing in there to start with?
Well, I worked in the building for 20 years, and I was a janitor. I was a person that actually cleaned 110 flights of stairwells every day. And on 9/11, I had the only master key that was available.
Which you have with you here. This is the master key that was used.
They call it the key of hope. And this key was basically what I used to actually go with the firemen, floor by floor. I remember that when the building got impacted by the plane after the huge explosion in the basement, the building shook so hard that most of the doors got jammed. So we have to use the key and force to open many of those doors.
So you climbed up the stairwells with the firefighters, trying to open the doors, trying to let as many people as possible escape. What floor were you actually on when the first plane hit?
I was in the basement. I was in the basement,
actually.
There was a huge explosion in the basement, and at that moment, the first thing that I said, whoa, it's a generator that just blew up. And because we have no windows, we have no way of saying, you know, what's going on. A person comes running into the office saying, explosion, explosion. All the skin hanging from under his armpits on both arms to the top of the fingertips. And when I look at his face, pieces missing from his face. And I said, what happened? What happened? And when I said, don't move, because I was going to pick up the phone to call the emergency medical unit that was located on the other tower, bang, another explosion. And that's when I said, no, everybody's got to get out. So I pushed everybody out, went back inside the building, got two people that were stuck inside of an elevator and another guy from another building, got them outside the building and went back inside the building again.
So people were rescued because of you, because you opened the stairwell. What actually happened to you personally, if you were the last man in the tower when it collapsed? I was
coming out at the moment with a person on a wheelchair named Ed Baye, and as he was getting first aid, I was told, get the ambulance ready. I went down 27 flights of stairs with this man and 3 firemen, and as I went to the front of the building to set up the ambulance, all I see is that across the street, the police had the area cordon out, and they started screaming, don't look back, don't look back. And you know, when they tell you don't look back, it's the first thing you're going to say. And when I turned around, I saw all the bodies of the people that jumped out of the building, and the building started to shake, and this is started to fall, and the only thing I saw was a fire truck. I slipped right under the fire truck, and the building started to collapse right on top of me. So I was trapped, buried alive, and luckily hours after I was pulled from under the rubble. But because the truck did not, the tires did not blow out, I was able to sustain myself for enough time.
You were an extremely lucky man, weren't you? An amazing story. You've made me go quite shivery thinking about it, actually. William Rodriguez, thank you very much indeed for joining us and telling us your story.
I started the day by calling my supervisor and telling him that I was not going to work. The reason was that it was such a beautiful day that I wanted to stay home. I wanted to take a sick day off. And I called my supervisor, and he begged to me to go back into the company. And I made it to work, but I made it late. And that was a miracle by itself, because if I made it there at 8 o'clock, I would have been dead automatically, or I would have been trapped on the top of the building.
And at 8:46, we hear, boom! An explosion so loud that pushes upwards in the air. The walls cracked. The false ceiling fell on top of us. The sprinkler system got activated. Everybody started screaming in horror, in pure horror, because we didn't know what it was. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that a generator just blew out on the basement, on the mechanical room.
I was on B1, basement 1, when this huge explosion happened that pushed us upwards in the air, an indication that something very powerful exploded below us. And at that moment, when I went to say it, we hear, pa! The impact and the explosion of the plane on the top. 2 different events separated by 7 seconds, more or less.
And you could hear the difference from the top and from the bottom. Come on, I work in the building for 20 years, and I know the difference between something coming from the basement and something coming from the top. So everybody's screaming in horror, help, help, and we didn't know what to do.
Go all the way in the building, go all
From the initial explosion in the basement, I took 14 people from the basement, led the way out so they could go outside the building because nobody was taking the leadership. After that I went back, went into the North Tower. There were 2 people stuck inside of an elevator, a lift, and they have water going into the lift, and they were encapsulated, and they were screaming that they were going to drown. I was able, with the help of another guy, to open the door, find a ladder, get these 2 people out, save them, take them outside the building, and go back inside the building. There were 5 master keys in the building, and I have the only one available at that moment. And I went floor by floor by floor, opening the doors so people could escape.
We start making it up the staircase, and as we go up, we hear small explosions going off. Pa! Pa! Different areas. Now, again, why is this key so important? Because Class A building, the codification in New York is that any skyscraper, 3 doors will not open on the staircases, 1 will open. 3 won't open, 1 will open. So we have to go and open all those doors that did not open. When we got to the 27th floor, the whole unit of firemen collapsed on the corridor, one after the other, because they couldn't continue going up. It was physically impossible for them to continue. They took their equipment, they took their jackets, they took their boots, they dropped themselves on the floor. A very shocking moment for me, because I said, oh my God, I feel like I have to go alone now. Remember, David Lim said, Willie, do you know this floor? I said, yeah, I know this floor. He said, where can I get water? He said, on the other side, there's a machine. So let's go. He breaks the machine. We start taking bottled water, putting it on trash cans, and bringing it to the firemen and giving them the bottled water. I remember I called my mother from a phone that was working in that office. Call her. My mother is in Puerto Rico. But I wanted to let her know that there was an accident in case she heard something on the news, that I was okay. When she picked up the phone, she was like, what are you doing there? Everybody in the world knew but us what was happening. She said, get out now. And I said, I can't. I'm helping these people. They don't know the building. But don't worry. And I lied to her. I said, I'm going to get up to a certain part, but I'm not going to get to the area where they have the fire. When my actual intention was to go to Windows of the World and help my friends. That was my motivating and the power that was actually pushing me to go to the top. Because I knew these people were stuck in there. I hung up on the phone and I had calls from my supervisor say, Rodriguez, abandon the building right now. Abandon the building right now. And I say, I can't, I'm helping the fire department. He said, that's not your job, get out now. I turn off the radio and I continue going up by myself, opening door, letting people out, and I continue going up until I got to the 39th floor. When I got to the 39th floor, from the opposite staircase, there were 3 staircases, A, B, and C. Police officer David Lim came up with 2 firemen. And as we were talking about what was going to be our next move, we hear, boom! The impact on the other tower. And it was so hard that our building oscillated so much that we lost practically our footing. And all of a sudden we hear, boom, 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 boom. And on the radio, we lost 65. We lost 65, meaning that the 65th floor collapsed floor by floor by floor by floor, up to the 44th floor, the sky lobby, 5 flights away. And I started screaming, we gotta go up, we gotta go up. Officer Lim said, Rodriguez, you've done enough, but you don't get paid for this. And I said, what? I'm going up. And he said, no. You stay here, you're still a civilian, and you are my responsibility. I said, sorry, I'm not giving the key to anybody, I'm going up. And he said, better if you give me a hand with the person on the wheelchair on the 27th floor. And he said, you know, David, I'm going to go down, but I'm coming right up. I'm going to help you with that, but I'm coming right up. So I ran down to the 27th floor. When I ran to the 27th floor, I screamed to the firemen, I have orders to get this guy out right now. The guy was taken out of the wheelchair. He was put on a rescue basket, all tied up. 3 guys stood up and said, let's go. We grabbed him. We started going down the stairwell. As we go down, we make it to the lobby. We make it to the lobby. And all of a sudden, one of the firemen tells me, please go get the ambulance ready. And I hear, run, run, run. I look at the left side and I see the Marriott Hotel almost gone. Bodies everywhere. And I said, God, please help me. And the only thing I see is a fire truck in front of the building. And I just slid right under the fire truck. And all of a sudden, the building started to destroy itself on top. And you hear, boom, boom, boom. And the truck going down. And all I said at that moment was, please don't let my mother see my body in pieces. Let her recognize my body, please, please. Luckily, CNN, Global Vision from Brazil, they were across the street and they pinpointed the area. The last man came out from that area. And that's how they started doing the rescue effort.
Rodriguez weet op dat moment nog niet wat er is gebeurd. Wat die eerste veronderstelde explosie heeft veroorzaakt, vlak voor het eerste vliegtuig nog.
I don't know if it was a bomb or not. I am not an expert in explosives. It sounded like one. It made the noise like one. It created, a destruction level that, I wouldn't expect anything else to be but that. But was that a bomb? I have no idea what it was. Compassion is more powerful than violence. It will make you act in ways that you never saw possible. And I was so desperate to get to my friends and to save them. And the sad thing is that I was recognized for saving hundreds of people, but the people that I really wanted to help, I never was able to save a single one of them. I lost 200 friends on 9/11. And while I went down, the building collapsed. There was a huge collapse, and that was the South Tower. The second one to be hit by a plane, but the first one to collapse. I saw the fire, I saw the smoke, and the smoke was so dense that it covered the top of the building. It covered all the way to the antenna. And that's when I reacted. I said, oh my God, the people... I saw all the bodies of the people that jumped out of the building. And the only thing I saw was a fire truck. And the building started to tremble like an earthquake. And it started to collapse. And the only thing that I could do at that moment was to jump right under the truck. And the building basically engulfed me. And I was totally buried under the rubble, alive. And then this dust came. That dust went under every orifice under the truck. And it basically burned my face, burned my skin, and I couldn't breathe. Then I think at that moment, I'm not dying squashed to death, but now I'm gonna die of asphyxia. So I have to put my face under my shirt to be able to breathe.
Get in there, let's go. Get in. Oh, wait. Get in, walk to the back. Get in, walk to the back.
And hours after, I was pulled from the rubble, thinking at that moment that I lost my legs. But a miracle. I didn't break a single bone. A lot of people call me a conspiracy theorist. And it's funny because I was there. I am an eyewitness. I experienced the event. I do not speculate because I experienced it in my own skin. I have the people that have come out and validated the story constantly. I have the people that have survived also the event and have tried to tell their part of the story, which actually coincide with mine. I lost 200 friends that do not have answers, and I will continue until we get the answers.